Hello, everyone. This is a conversation with Jack Nobe. He's a Tiger alumni. He also is a freshman at Xavier University at the time of this recording. I feel like this was a very valuable conversation that you need to listen to because he's coming off of his first fall semester at the university. And so he has this freshness of knowing what he did during the high school spring, high school summer, and going into his first week of practice at Xavier. Why is this important? Well, we feel like a lot of seniors, before they head off to college, they kind of put their foot off of the pedal a little bit per se. They don't put a lot of emphasis into their training as much. They start kind of relaxing and just enjoying the ride. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're trying to compete for a starting role at your next school, you got to find those weaknesses that are probably going to be exposed at the next level. So in this conversation, please listen to what Jack has to say because he is going to be an impact player at this university, and he's doing a really good job in just his short time playing during the fall against outside competition as well as the inner squads. So enjoy this conversation with Jack Nobe.
This is a Rawlings Tigers podcast episode.
All right, I think we're recording. So, Jack, how have you been?
I've been good.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks for asking.
So, Xavier University, you went to my alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
Or I went to your alma mater, one of the two.
One of the two.
But kind of talk about your first fall. Like, what was it like? And kind of like to preface like the story, I still remember when you were a freshman or you were in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
We were at Ellisville Ballpark, and you were thinking of whether to play for a different org or for the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
And Trent Limecooler went up there to try to close down the deal
Mm-hmm.
to get you to become a Tiger. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I was. I think I went and watched some of my buddies try out.
Yeah.
And so I was
that
just like
it, yeah.
around, and then he talked to me for like a good 15, 20 minutes.
Like, so
about
what
the
was like your
Tigers.
mindset like going into like going into high school for like choosing a club?
At that time, like I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, obviously, I'm so glad that I stayed with the Tigers throughout high school, but I think the Gators at that time were like just like a big club, and I just thought they'd be better fit for me, just like in terms of who they play. I guess their facilities were nicer at the time because I don't even think we had.
We didn't have this
time.
facility. Yeah.
So that kind of played a part.
Also, probably an easier drive from Washington.
Yeah,
Missouri
a little
to-
closer.
Yeah.
Just kind of all that. But then,
Did it feel like that was kind of like a prelude in like to your actual recruiting for college?
yeah, I mean, it kind of like played the same, like in terms of the facilities, which one's nicer, got to choose. The coaches played a big factor. I know Craddock's a great guy. I talked to him a lot at the time.
Yeah.
Just comparing the coaches, comparing the facilities is kind of the same to, choosing a college.
Yeah.
Obviously on a completely different level, but I think
Yeah.
like the basics are the same.
So like talk about kind of like the recruiting of college, and how, like your path to Xavier University. Like how many offers did you have on the table?
At the time, I didn't have that many. Maybe like
No way.
2 or 3.
Really?
So my recruiting process is like really weird. The summer before I got recruited, so my 16U summer,
Yeah.
hardly pitched at all. Or like I pitched, but I was more of just like a position player up on the mound, just throwing.
Yeah.
Getting recruited as more of a position player, and then that winter, I kind of like transitioned into being a pitcher, and then some schools only wanted me for being a PO. But Xavier was kind of in between. They said I could come in 2-way, which I really enjoyed. Then Billy O'Connor, the head coach, talked to me more than any other coach. School was great. Went on a visit. Money was good. So
Yeah.
thought there was no point in waiting.
Yeah. So then you're two-waying at Xavier.
Mhm.
What are the chances that you're going to two-way? Like actual two-way?
Like
Like if you could give if you can give like a probability to it. Because the reason I ask this is because like so many guys because I think you can do it. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah.
But so many guys are offered that. But in reality, like it's just the coach telling them like, hey, we want you more on this side than that side.
I think the word 2-way gets thrown a lot around in college. 'Cause
Yeah.
to be honest, if you were to ask me if I was legit 2-way before I went to college, I would say no, not really.
Oh, no way.
I would say probably not. I would just end up pitching. But this fall, like I had a really good time hitting and pitching both. So
Was it like an unlock, like you just unlocked your swing or something, or was it more of like, because I mean that ballpark plays really well with your swing.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think I just kind of focused on pitching so much before I got to college, and then once I started, hitting every day and focusing on that, even more, I think it kind of made me realize that I was kind of missing some potential back in high school. And not to say that I wasn't good enough to hit in high school, but it's definitely like a big step that I've taken this past fall with my swing.
Yeah,
compared to high school.
It kind of felt like just from an outsider's perspective. You can tell me if I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but it felt like swinging was easier for you, and then pitching wasn't. So you taught yourself how to pitch,
Yeah.
and then like you kind of just relied on your swing.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment?
Say that again. I'm
So
sorry.
like you were like your swing was pretty much a natural swing. Like
Mhm.
you didn't really have to overhaul it. You didn't
Yeah.
have to go to private lessons that much.
I would
It was
agree.
more like you kind of just was natural to you.
Uh-huh.
But then like on pitching, you had to do like pitching specific
Mm-hmm.
programs to actually get yourself, because you said before like I was an athlete that was just throwing.
Yeah.
So would you say like that's the case, is like
Yeah.
that you were more focused on pitching because it was harder for you?
Yeah, like I've always been, like throughout my life, I've always been considered a hitter.
Yeah.
So like I really had to work at the pitching and like, show up every day because it didn't really come that natural.
Mhm. So then like in college, did you get like exposed and then you had to like make adjustments at the dish?
I wouldn't say exposed, but it was definitely like you don't see, 80 miles an hour anymore like you do in high school.
Yeah.
So it's definitely just an adjustment. It took me a few weeks just to get like adjusted to the style of pitching because, I played good competition in high school, but nothing compared to what you see from college, especially at Xavier and other schools that we played in the fall. So I think just kind of getting adjusted to that pitching kind of helped me out a lot, and adjusted to the velocity, the off speed and stuff like that.
So then for the spring, where do they have you slotted in at, like penciled in?
In terms of like playing time,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Like what was your exit meetings like? I guess that's more the question.
Yeah, I would say I had a pretty positive exit meeting.
Yeah.
They said I should get a decent amount of innings. Apparently, obviously, if I do well in those innings, I'll continue to play, and if not, I won't. But I should get the opportunity to play, pitch some innings in the spring, and then the latter half of this fall, I hit really well, so should hopefully get some meaningful ABs in the spring as well.
What's the biggest piece of advice that you received that was false when you got to college, and what's the biggest piece of advice that you got that was correct when you got to college?
False? Oh boy.
Or is like a half truth?
I would say like this is gonna be hard to explain, but when I got to college, I was like just super domed up. Like everyone's watching me, everyone cares what I do and stuff like that. Like the coaches are always watching, which they are.
Mm-hmm.
But like just relax and calm down. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about it 24/7. Just play baseball. Because like when I got into college, I was like, oh my gosh, they're watching me stretch right now, or oh my gosh, they're watching me do everything. Which they are. It's very important to always like hustle and stuff. But just take a step back. Like you're gonna be okay. Just live in your own head. You know what I mean?
And what's the biggest thing that like was very true?
Just like the intensity of college, like the weight room. You get 45 minutes to work out. You better make the most of those 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You get 3 hours of practice. You better make the most of those 3 hours, or you're gonna get passed up pretty easily.
What about like the workload on classes?
Workload on classes isn't too bad.
Well, coming from Borgia, Borgia basically kicks the hell out of you from an academic standpoint.
Yeah. For the most part, there's not much of a change. Like if you stay on top of your work,
Yeah.
there was really not much of a change in terms of like workload and classes. And you don't go to school for 7 hours a day, so you have a lot more time on your hands outside of school. So
During your recruiting process, if you can look back at it, what did you worry about? And that seemed like it was the biggest thing in the world, but in reality, it wasn't.
just like how I talk to the coaches, like when they would text me, I would get like super nervous. Oh, like what do I respond with? Like
It's like a girlfriend, right?
yeah,
like,
it's like you're talking to girls and stuff. It's like they don't care as long as you don't completely say something stupid, or like as long as you're a good person and you show it on the field, you're gonna get recruited. Just
Yeah,
fine.
just don't be a weirdo.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
Just be yourself. Like you don't have to put like 5 exclamation points after a sentence to make it seem like you're super interested in them and stuff like that.
That's where I think like people go wrong is like they mid curve the hell out of it. It's so hard because like do you know what mid curving is?
Not really. No.
So like it's a bell curve, right? And so you have a Jedi Knight on one side, and then you have like a Neanderthal on another, and then you have like this person in the middle. And we always end up being that person in the middle where we're overthinking everything, but in reality, it's just very simple. Just don't be a weirdo.
Yeah. Did you tweet about that one time?
Yeah. So it's like it's so true when it comes to like just talking to people, relationships, like teaching, education, like anything that deals with it. Like just don't mid curve it, and you're totally fine.
Like I would sometimes like I'm bored and I go back and see like my old texts from coaches. I was like, what was I doing? Like I sound like an idiot right now.
Because in reality, like then when you start like interacting with these coaches, you're like, oh, they're just normal people,
regular dudes. You know, they have a job just like everyone else.
Yeah, like one of the biggest unlocks for me was in senior year. We played at Mizzou, and on the field, it was everyone. I knew everyone because we all played against each other growing up, and it was like, we're at the like they're part of the SEC or Big 12 at the time. We're at the Missouri Valley. This is Division I baseball. Like it's just a normal day at like Baldwin Ballpark.
Yeah.
Which is so odd to think about, but that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, like you're playing sometimes the same kids that you played with as you were growing up.
Yeah, and it's probably the same for you guys now because like you play against these guys at Lake Point and Grand Park, and then you see them out on the field, and you're like, oh, I know that guy. We were in that circuit. We were kind of crossing the same paths.
Yeah.
If you could give one recommendation, kind of like the coin question, like if you give one recommendation for a player that's, I would say 8th grade or a freshman, what would it be?
8th grade, like young, I would say, just like it doesn't matter because I would consider myself a small kid when I was an 8th grade or a freshman, and I would see on Twitter these kids freshman 8th grade throwing 85, 90 miles an hour, and I was like, I thought I was super behind.
Yeah.
But in reality, I wasn't. Like just stay the course. It's not like the end goal is within yourself. Like you're not racing anywhere.
Yeah, because like majority of players are probably were at the same point you were at.
Yeah,
but it just seemed like.
But you don't see them. Yeah. You only see the kids that are at the top, and you just think that's like normal.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of really hurt me because I was, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But I mean, I was
like overthinking the hell out of it.
Yeah, really overthinking things. And those kids they're probably really talented, but they were also just physically gifted early. And you have to be really mindful of that. Like everyone matures at different ages.
When did you know that you belonged?
I started
coming from a small town, it's kind of tough.
Yeah. I would say I started gaining like a lot of confidence in the baseball world probably when I started the Tigers high school program. Because like I played on, Oswald, which is the other Tigers team. And I would say we probably weren't as good as like the other 14U team. So kind of made me think like, oh, what else is out there in terms of like baseball and what am I behind on? And then we joined up with that team and I was like, I'm competing with the best guys in St. Louis, and these guys in St. Louis are competing against the other best teams in the country. So that kind of put into perspective like I belong here.
Was velocity ever like a issue for you? Like, did you put it on a pedestal or anything like that?
I've never overly focused on velocity. It's just I've been kind of lucky. It's always kind of been there.
Yeah.
I know I talked about like I was a little behind in 8th grade. I guess I was, but I kind of matured when I got into high school and always been like above average in terms of velocity. So I've never like overthought about it. Obviously, you train for velocity. You try to get better every day, but I've never like, put that over pitchability or anything like that.
Yeah.
In terms of that, that's what you mean.
So social circles, I'm so interested like on social circles because like that was a thing that I struggled with because I was always that kid that wanted to go to the party or go hang out with people, and like how Washington is, like you go to farm parties and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Like what prevented you from getting down that bad rabbit hole?
Honestly, just the light at the end of the tunnel, like college baseball, is kind of what kept me, working hard because it was really easy to, say no to them when, you could go hit late at night. And I enjoyed that. But it also like, if you see something great in the future, it makes what you're doing right now a lot easier to do. Like if I see,
It's easy to say the no.
Yeah, like if I see pro baseball in my future, it's a lot easier to work hard now.
Yeah.
Just because you think like, oh, that could be me one day. So that's what I think. College baseball is kind of what kept me grounded in high school. And
Were
on the
you
right
did
path.
did school was school easy for you or was it hard?
It definitely wasn't hard, but it also wasn't easy. Like I got good grades without putting in too much effort. And
Yeah, because I was one of those
balanced
guys.
it well.
I was a high effort guy. I had to put a lot of effort into
Uh-huh.
school because it didn't come easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed is like when you have that light at the end of the tunnel, it like really motivates you to like look through that textbook that's boring
Yeah.
as hell.
Yeah,
Like you're learning about like evolution. You're like, I really don't care about
Yeah.
evolution. I just care about hitting fastballs.
yeah.
You know. So, what's your major in, Xavier?
Right now I'm business undecided. So
Okay.
just like something in the business.
Like
business space.
kind of talk through that because some guys are a little confused on like how the majors work, and
Mhm.
sometimes high schools don't have great counseling when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
Yeah.
How did you end up coming to that conclusion on the major, and then like what was the process to like declare that?
Yeah. I didn't really know much coming out of high school, but I knew I wanted to do something in the business world. And then
Did your counselors help you at Borgia?
at
at all?
Borgia, as much as I would like to say they did, I can't really say
Yeah.
much. I wasn't really passionate about much coming out of high school besides baseball.
Yeah.
So I knew going into something broad would be probably the best thing for me, just so I can, get my feet wet in college and then decide where to go from there. And I
Yeah,
think
see the
it's-
different classes
Yeah.
and like what actually. I noticed that too. Like when I went to Longview Community College,
Mhm.
I had a teacher that was he was actually our guidance counselor plus our science teacher,
Mhm.
and did a couple classes with him, and like literally it was an unlock for me on knowing what to major in.
Yeah.
Because I was like you, I was like I'm gonna do an undecided business. Don't have no idea what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this guy started talking to me, and I was like, "Oh man, I want to do microbiology. This sounds freaking awesome."
Mhm.
But then didn't realize that like the labs kill you when you play baseball.
Yeah.
So I had to end up switching it back into business, but went to economics. So like, probably kids shouldn't stress out if they don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have time. Like it's good. This semester I took marketing.
Yeah.
And one of my classes loved it. Next semester I'm taking like an intro to finance class.
Yeah.
So kind of like two different sides, see what you like, see what you don't like, and then go from there. I have until my end of my sophomore year to make a final decision on my major. So
Was there anything that like kind of like, triggered you on like a passionate, like, oh, I really enjoy this subject?
I loved marketing when I got there.
Oh, really?
Like nothing coming out of high school I was really too passionate about, but this semester I really liked marketing, so I might go into that just because you see what people like and don't like, and it's just like really interesting, like seeing the views of different people and how they see products and stuff.
Yeah. I also think that like the teachers always make it too. Like if a teacher's like super passionate about a
Yeah.
topic, you're like you kind of get into it anyways.
Yeah, and that's a big difference between college and high school. Like I went to Borgia, they had great teachers, but like college is on a completely different level. The teachers are so passionate about what they do. The professors, like they've gone to school for I don't even know how many years, but they love what they do, and they really make sure that you love what they do as well. So that's also a big difference that I've noticed between high school and college.
Talk about like your first fall and like the practice schedules and everything like that, and then just like the intensity that it's at. Can you try to convey that to?
Yeah, it's definitely more than high school. We started off with individuals, just like with your position groups, and I thought that was going to be kind of laid back and get your work in and leave. It's definitely not. It's definitely not.
Yeah.
You have to go in with the expectation that this practice is going to kill you. Like it's going to be terrible. And they weren't at all. Like I loved the practice.
But having that high expectation,
you have to have that
yeah.
high expectation, or else you're going to come in and be like, "Oh, this is not what I expected. I thought it was going to be way easier than this."
Yeah.
And then once practice starting off, it was tough just because you didn't know the routine. You didn't know how the practice like ran.
Yeah, the structure of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the mental side of it, knowing how things go, where to be, and stuff like that.
So you're just like looking at the seniors and trying
Yeah,
to
I'm
figure
like,
out like
do not be the first one in line.
Yeah.
Let everyone else go first, so you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But no, towards the end of the fall, kind of got a lot more comfortable on what to do and where to be and stuff like that. So I would say just going with the expectation that the practice is going to be hard.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
when you started doing inter squads, did it feel like you were behind, or did you feel like you were on pace, or did you feel like you were ahead of guys?
I think I was on pace for the most part. The little things I was definitely behind on, like how to hold on runners, tipping pitches, stuff like that. I was definitely behind on just because you didn't really have to worry about that in high school as much.
Yeah. No, I remember when freshmen come in and it was like fresh meat. Like
Yeah.
I always wanted to face the freshmen in the fall because
Yeah.
like you could just see things way faster than they could.
Yeah.
And they're trying to catch up.
I had an inter squad outing and I didn't know it, but after I got off the field, the other team said they had every one of my pitches. So
That's like so demoralizing.
Yeah, it was honestly it honestly helped my ego because it's like I gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
Did
you still get them out or no?
Yeah, like I still had a good outing.
Your stuff still.
So
played?
it was like oh, maybe if I wouldn't tip my pitches, I would have struck out 3 more guys, which kind of helped my confidence a little bit. But yeah, the little things is what I think I was majorly behind on going in. Which is expected. The college guys have been there for 4 years. They've had the coach talk about that stuff forever. Yeah. But
who recruited you out of Xavier? The head coach?
Yeah, the head coach.
Okay.
Connor.
And how often do you interact with the head coach now?
I think it's more than other people because I'm a two-way, so I see him with the pitchers when he's with the pitchers, and then I also see him when he's with the hitters too. So
okay,
I interacted with him. I'd say almost every day.
Yeah, so you're pretty much you're like one of the lucky ones that gets to interact with the person that recruited you.
I'd say I'd see him a lot. Yeah. Pretty lucky.
Sometimes like some guys get recruited and they don't really interact with the person that recruited them.
Yeah, like a lot of the pitchers probably don't see him nearly as much as they would like to, just because he's not around as much.
Yeah.
So that can be kind of tough, just because you went 2 years or a year, however long you've been recruited, talking to him and building a relationship, and then you just don't talk to him as much.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of how it goes. But I've been fortunate enough to see him a lot.
Yeah. You're still early in your career, but you had a little bit of love from the professional side.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So
how you handled it, did you handle it right or did you handle it wrong?
It kind of sprang up out of nowhere. I didn't really expect to have any professional love that winter before, and then I threw a bullpen. And then Kevin Mulder saw me throw, and I got an invite to the Super 60. Did really well there. Had a couple teams reach out to me after that, and I thought I was going to get drafted. Like that was my dream.
Yeah.
But looking back, it takes a lot more than what I had. But no, I don't think I handled it terribly. I also don't think I handled it very well.
So you started filling out questionnaires and all that?
Yeah, like just stuff like that. And then like when they would come to my games, I would kind of get in my own head, like, oh, I have to throw.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
I can't throw a pitch below 90 here, or they're not going to like me.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
And then you just kind of start spraying everywhere, which I think, was hit or miss. Sometimes I would be good with that, and sometimes not.
Yeah.
And then you think you have to, I have to throw a changeup here. Like, I haven't thrown my changeup enough.
Yeah.
I got to show off all 3 pitches. And then you stop focusing on, like, getting outs.
Yeah, isn't it weird? Like, the game ends up switching to, like, you're playing against the scout rather than the
I'm not even like I don't even care about the hitter. I just need to throw my fastball above a certain amount number and throw my slider good enough and hard enough. But no, you have to remember, like, it's still baseball. Like if you play your game and get the guys out, you're gonna be fine.
It's like it's mid curving it, man. It's
like
you're
just be yourself.
Yeah, I know. It's like either just throw it hard or throw it hard, and then like just try to get outs and see what happens. Let the dice play.
And looking back, like I'm glad I didn't, have the opportunity to play pro ball.
Because that becomes enticing. Because like when you start thinking about like, okay, I'm getting drafted in like let's just say 25th round.
Yeah.
And then you're really contemplating like, do I really want to go to school, or like now it's off the table. So it's like go to school, get the degree, and then let's come back and reconvene for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a time where like I really wanted to play pro ball out of high school. But looking back, it wouldn't have been smart just because you don't get the education. Probably definitely wouldn't have signed for a good amount of money.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't have gotten to develop, over these 3 or 4 years that I'm going to be at Xavier. And then the relationships, the people that I've met at school, probably wouldn't have that at pro ball just because you're moving all over the place.
Well, you're probably hanging out with more of like, it's going to be all cultures that are in pro ball, right?
Yeah. And then like, nobody really cares about each other. They're all just trying to get to the top.
That's 101. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's way different at school. Like we got good culture there. Like everyone cares about each other. We all have one goal in mind.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's
I think the coaches have something to do with that too. And also you have a smaller group of players. Where,
Yeah.
like in minor league baseball, you have a group of players
yeah.
that are trying to get one spot.
Yeah. Like there's 40 of us at Xavier all fighting for one goal, and in pro ball there'd be a bunch of different people fighting for separate goals.
Yeah.
So it would just be really weird.
Yeah, totally different chasing Omaha versus Major League Baseball,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Way different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always found that interesting with pro ball. Like that's kind of where I was like heading for the exits. Was it just wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I didn't get drafted, but I ended up playing independent baseball. But I quickly realized like no one cares about me,
Yeah.
and like everyone's out for themselves. And like
Mhm.
some players play really well to that, and they can play both college and pro ball mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was just not one of those guys. So just I didn't understand like you couldn't have a team concept or trying to win, but
Yeah.
no one cares about you.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And I know some guys that got drafted from the St. Louis area, and I'm sure they're doing fine.
Yeah.
I just don't think I would, strive for that, or like I don't think I would thrive in that environment very well right now.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like high school baseball is all about the team, and then it's like I don't know anybody when I'm going to the complex league in Arizona.
Yeah.
And you're just on your own as an 18-year-old
Yeah.
playing against and with some 23, 24-year-old guys that have been there forever.
Yeah. But also, like, I would never substitute like my college experience.
Yeah.
Like, that college experience is unbelievable.
Yeah, and
it's
then-
hard to describe it until you're there.
Yeah, and then as soon as you get drafted and you sign, you just can't get that back.
Yeah.
So I think that can be really, and like the college experience is. I mean, I've only been there for one semester, but it's been great so far.
Yeah.
So I've been really fortunate enough to have that.
And you live on campus?
Yeah.
In the dorms?
Yeah.
And then does everyone live on campus, or they can live off?
Freshmen and sophomores have to live on campus, and then juniors and seniors can live wherever.
Gotcha. And are the athletes like all in one building, or are they mixed out?
We're all in one building, but the baseball team's like put together in one part of the dorm.
Oh, okay.
If you know what I mean. So like
Yeah.
right across the hall's another baseball player.
Yeah. So how do you guys get stuff done?
Um,
Because I know what that is when you get like 10 baseball guys in like one room and hanging out.
Well, I quickly realized you can't do homework in your dorm room. Like,
there's no way.
not possible.
That's why
'cause-
the library exists.
Yeah, you have to go somewhere else because my roommate's probably playing video games,
Yeah.
screaming his head off.
Yeah.
The kids in the other room are probably watching TV or something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then all you want to do is like interact with them when you're around them.
Oh,
So
100%.
it's like
Like just it's social. You want to
Yeah.
hang out.
I'm writing an essay, but I'm also talking to my roommate. It's
Yeah.
not going to work.
That's why at Missouri State we called it Club Meyer, which is the library.
Mm-hmm.
And so we called it Club Meyer because like all the smart athletes that were in a harder degree,
Yeah.
they all hung out in the
Oh, okay.
library.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like every single like athlete was in the library because they couldn't study because of the roommates.
Yeah.
So it was just a big party, but it was more of less just reading books. So, but cool, man. So we talked about expectations going into the spring and everything like that. What are you most excited about for the spring?
I would say just like being with a team and traveling.
Yeah.
Going all over the country and just playing baseball. We start our season off in Arizona, which would be cool. We play Oregon State, Indiana, UNLV, all great teams. We go down to Florida for a trip. We go to Stanford for a trip. So I think that'll be really cool. Just
Doesn't that like seem like surreal to you?
oh, it's insane. It's
Yeah.
like you played travel baseball and you go places, but it's way different. Like you're with 40 guys the whole time, and
Yeah.
it's the same 40 guys.
What I thought was surreal about it is like the names of the schools that you play.
Yeah,
But then like at the end of the day, it's just like, oh, it's just another school.
yeah.
You know?
Like we played Tennessee
Yep.
this year. And when you think Tennessee, you think of like national champions.
Yep.
But like I know some guys on Tennessee, and like they're good baseball players, but they're just baseball
Yeah,
players.
there's normal dudes.
Yeah. So you can't put them on a pedestal because like we're right there with them.
Yeah, I always think it's like it's all relative.
Yeah.
You know, we talked to Eric Miller, and we posted that podcast, and I asked him about Shohei because he faced Shohei 4
Mhm.
times, struck him out 4 times,
hmm
and I was like, so do you like think about it when he's coming up? And he's like, well, the first time, yeah, like he's the best baseball player on the planet. But then like after a while, you just don't care. It just becomes all relative. Like you don't care who that person is that's in the box. I have an assignment. I got to execute on the assignment. If I don't get the assignment right, then I'm next guy's up.
Yeah.
So like I gotta execute on this pitch.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the point, you think like this, it's big, it's monumental. But then next thing you know, you're just like, oh, it's just a normal day at another ballpark that's a little bit bigger.
I think the main thing is like, we're gonna play. Like last year we played at LSU. I didn't, but the team did.
Yeah.
This year we'll play at Tennessee. Like crazy atmospheres.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's me on a mound versus someone in the batter's box,
100%.
which is something I've been doing since I was 9.
Yeah, I know, right?
So it's like it's still baseball.
It's still baseball.
Completely different level of baseball, but it's still the basics are still there. Like if I, do my job, I'll be just fine.
Yep. Execute the pitch.
Yeah.
Just make sure you pound the zone, and then it's all cake after that, right?
Can't focus on like the external things either.
Yeah.
You just gotta focus on yourself.
Is it easier for you to see mistakes?
For myself.
Well, no. Like when you see like when you're facing somebody, is it easier now to find mistakes in hitter swings?
Yeah, just because I'm a two-way. I understand what that's like when if I were to hit, like what would I want here and what would I not want.
Mm-hmm.
So as a pitcher, that really helps. Like if I see like kind of a slow swing, I know what I would want to do as a pitcher to do that. It's also really helpful. The pitching coach, knows a lot more than me, so I kind of just let him work on it. But it is easy to tell where guys have holes in their swings and stuff like that.
Last question: what do you think the Tigers did to help you get to the position that you're at right now?
The competition of baseball we play is insane. Like I was playing against some of the top guys in the nation throughout high school, which I think really helped me. The structure of practice was great. I had Rawlings Tigers and Mike Callahan, and I don't know if every team's like this, but
they're unique. I'm letting you know that right now.
They might be unique, but the practices we had in the summer were kind of close to what we had at Xavier.
Yeah.
Just like how they were ran. So when I got to campus, it was kind of like, oh, I've done this before. Like I've done this. And then also Evan Pratt helped out a lot just because he knows so many guys, has the connections with them. So it was almost like I didn't have to worry about recruiting. Like all I had to do was just focus on getting better, and the recruiting side of things would fix itself. And I think that's what the Tigers helped out with a lot.
Describe a Rawlings Tigers and Mike Callahan practice.
It's definitely business oriented. Like you get there, you're in the dugout, you're talking, and then you're stretching, and it's like you got to get to work.
Yeah.
And then it's grueling. Like he's there hitting fungos and having a good time, and we're running in the outfield again. Oh, chasing baseballs left and right. He's like, do it again. I'm like, all right, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
But no, it was a great time. Like, wouldn't change it for the world. I had a great time at those practices. Like at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like, I miss my old coaches and stuff like that. But looking back, it was probably one of the best things that could have happened. And 15U, we had the same team, and we had barely a 500 record. And then 16 and 17U blew that out of the water both years, and we played the same competition.
Yeah, I think when a coach really tests you, you hated it at the time, and like you're like I hate this son of a gun, and you're like you're just cursing up and down. You're like, why are we doing this? This is so dumb. But then like when you look back at it, you're like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to like get better when someone else is pushing you too.
Oh, 100%.
Like I can go work out by myself and stuff like that, and I'm just not going to get nearly as good as if I have a trainer or a friend next to me pushing me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Rawlings was so good about. Like he knew your limits, and I thought I was at my limit, and he was like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like keep going. We're not done.
Yeah.
So I think that was good.
It's very hard to find your limit until you have somebody that pushes you.
Exactly.
Like, there's only one Kobe Bryant, right?
Exactly.
There's only one Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And like it's very hard to get that mentality. But then once that person helps you get there, it's like an unlock.
Yeah.
Because I still have stuff in the tank.
Yeah, I have so much more left that I wasn't utilizing before.
Yeah. Which is insane to think about.
Yeah.
Because like then you're thinking, well, is there still more left?
Yeah, like how much more? How
much pain can I take?
Yeah, like I didn't know that I had this much in me before. Like, what do I not know about now?
Yeah.
That I still have left. So it's just interesting to think about.
Yeah. I always find it interesting too, like different coaches' personalities, because we both know Coach Gildahouse, and we know Coach Struckoff, and then obviously you have your coaches at Xavier, and then you have Grayling and all that. Like each coach kind of gives their spice into what as you are as a player now, right? And I always found that like the ones that really like pushed the envelope were the ones that I appreciated the most. Like those are the guys that are like, man, I would go to battle for that guy.
Exactly. Like, you know, we'll have some pretty grueling practices in the fall. And like at the time you're like, this is terrible. Like, how am I getting better?
Yeah.
And then like the next week you like, I understand like why you were doing it and how it benefited you. So.
Yeah, I remember at Longview we had to run this hill on Championship Wednesdays, and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I'm good at anything that deals with condition. I'm really good at, but I absolutely hate it with a passion. I just do it to do it. But I do it with like, I want to finish this as fast as I possibly can. And like looking back at it, I realized that was actually the building of like, it had nothing to do with baseball. It was literally just mental toughness.
Things. Yeah.
Like, can I get through this? And if I can get through this, then like, oh, what's the next thing? What's the next step? You know? Because like when you start getting into the playoffs, because you haven't experienced the playoffs yet, which you probably will.
They always talk about it.
Oh, it's a different atmosphere. Like you think like the conference tournament's going to be something. It's not. Like when you get into a regional, it's a different atmosphere altogether. And you start realizing like, oh, that's why I trained for this. It's those like 3 to 4 games. It's just crazy to think about. You have this whole season and it comes down to these 3 to 4 games in a regional that really dictate like, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah, this is why I put in work for the past calendar year for this, week that we play this schedule.
Yeah.
And have this tournament.
And then it comes down to like not who's the best skilled. It comes down to like who wants it actually more, which is crazy. Like, because everyone's equal playing field. Yeah. Like when we went to the regional in Miami, it was Miami, Stony Brook, UCF, and us. Out of those 4 teams, which team do you think was like the worst team?
Probably you guys.
No.
Was it maybe Stony Brook?
Yeah. So you think Stony Brook's like the worst team?
Yeah.
They were the best team out of that one. Who do you think was the best one?
Say the teams again.
It was Miami, Stony Brook, us, and UCF. So University of Central Florida.
Yeah, probably Miami.
Yeah. So you think Miami. Miami was the worst team out of that one.
Yeah.
Because what happened was like Miami was a good team. They were a good squad. They had talented dudes all up and down. Like I think a couple guys got drafted off that team. But the reason that they weren't good that year was because they didn't want it. And like Stony Brook wanted it.
Yeah.
Like they had no namers. And they just went in and rolled over Miami. And then we lost to UCF, so they played UCF. They rolled over UCF. Then they lost, so they had to wait. And so then they played us again, and then they came back and beat us to play UCF again. Like it was just a whirlwind of a regional, but like Stony Brook, the 4 seed, comes out of nowhere because they just wanted it that much more.
And I think like being the 4 seed, like you have to give it your all.
Oh yeah.
Miami was probably like we could probably win. Not pitching our best guys or, not going 100%, like we'll be fine. And then they kind of let off the gas pedal. And then it's, 100% versus 80% at the Division I level. I feel like it's everyone's so close. Like, the margin of like skill is so close that anything could happen. Yeah.
Cause like, I mean, if you just let your eye off the ball for 1 second, like someone's going to come in and swoop in and take it from you.
Like you can't make mistake pitches. Like,
oh, no way.
Somebody, if you throw a fastball in the middle, like something probably bad's going to happen.
Yeah, I always tell my clients this. I was like, in high school baseball, you're probably going to see 2 to 3 mistakes in a bat, if you're lucky, which is still a good chance, right? But then like in college, it comes down to like 1 or 2 pitches. Yeah, and then like a professional, it's 1 pitch.
Yeah, like I'll be hitting the fall, and it's like, oh, I got a fastball in the middle, and I fouled that off. Like, now I got to battle because I'm probably not going to get that again.
When you miss that pitch, you're like, oh,
you're
no.
like, oh, that should not have been foul. Then you got to lock back in and be like, okay, let's battle. Let's get back to work.
Yeah. And hopefully he makes 1 more mistake.
Yeah, hopefully that second pitch comes in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool deal. This was a good conversation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's great to be back.